Hey Heartland students, welcome back. Today we're starting Philippians 1, 3 through 11. If you have not already done so, I highly recommend that you go and watch our Bible study reading video so that you kind of get an idea of what we're about to do as we look at the passage. You'll also want to go ahead and have a printout copy of the text, 1, 3 through 11. That'll be very helpful, as well as your black, blue, and red pens. Anytime that we're about to go into reading and annotating the text, it's always good that we first start by actually reading the text. So some of our students are going to help us do that right now.
I thank my God in all remembrance of you, always in every prayer of mine for you all, making my prayer with joy.
Because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now.
And I am sure of this, that he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion at the day of Jesus Christ.
It is right for me to feel this way about you all, because I hold you in my heart, for you are all partakers with me of grace, both in my imprisonment and in the defense and confirmation of the gospel.
For God is my witness, how I yearn for you all with the affection of Christ Jesus.
And it is my prayer that your love may abound more and more,
with knowledge and all discernment,
so that you may approve what is excellent,
and so be pure and blameless for the day of Christ,
filled with the fruit of righteousness that comes through Jesus Christ,
to the glory and praise of God.
That was awesome. All right, I just want to point out just some of the stuff that I found in the text as we read it, or as I read it, I should say, together. As I went through it with my black pen, I was looking for words that were repeated. That's what we underline in black. So I noticed, man, the word prayer is repeated about 3 times in this whole passage. Verses 3, 4, and verse 9 all indicates the word prayer. That's going to be something that's important to us. The word gospel is also repeated in verses 5 and 7. We see Jesus Christ, not surprising. I mean, he's all over the place, right? In the Bible, repeated in 6, 8, 10, and 11. We see God in verses 3, 8, and 11. And in this phrase, day of Christ, in verses 6 and 11. Those are some of the things that I found and that I underlined myself in black to draw my attention. Those are our focus words, if you will. Another thing that we do in black is we circle statements about God. And I see that there were 3 in there in this particular passage. I do know that I said that we don't just circle anytime his name is mentioned. But in verse 3, it says, I thank my God. In verse 8, it says, for God is my witness. And then in verse 11, it says, to the glory and praise of God. I think that each one of these phrases tends to be important and gives us some kind of indication about God and who he is. So I did circle those statements. The other thing we do is we box transition words. I'm not going to go through every single transition word, but there are definitely plenty in this passage, and there always will be in any passage. Verse 5 has the word because. It starts off with that. That's an important word. Verse 8 has the word for. Verse 10 says so that. The word and. There's many transition words and connecting words all throughout this passage. We won't talk too much about them. It will become important in our next video, so you'll want to watch that too. After using the black, I switched to the blue pen, and there weren't too many words in here that I found to be super confusing, but there were a couple that I wanted to get a better idea of what they meant. So I underlined the word partnership in verse 5, and the word partakers in verse 7. And I did go and I looked up definitions for those, and I worked out a definition for partnership to be a same engaged focus, which I think gives us a really good idea of what kind of partnership we're looking at. The word partakers, we can say that is joined or characterized by. So hopefully like little definitions like that gives us a better understanding, which is our next phase of the passage. So didn't underline too many words there. Maybe you underlined some other ones that you want a better definition on. If you did, go ahead and comment in the comment section below. Then in blue, we number things. And there's definitely a list in verses 9 through 11. And I numbered, your love may abound more and more, knowledge and all discernment, that you may approve what is excellent, be pure and blameless for the day of Christ, and then filled with the fruit of righteousness that comes through Jesus Christ. I had a list of 5 different numbers there. I identified those 5 things. And then we boxed any confusing ideas. A few of the confusing ideas that I boxed was partnership in the gospel in verse 5. In verse 6, he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion. Thought that was something good to look at. I yearn for you with all affection, with the affection of Christ Jesus in verse 8. And then I went ahead and I put a box around all of 9 through 11 because there's a lot of little things in there that really need to be kind of worked out. What does this mean in that passage? And then, of course, we take our red pen and we write out those focus words and those statements about God and the lists and things like that. And that's where I ask questions. And I usually ask questions around what it is that I've boxed. So I have questions on here like, what is partnership in the gospel? Who began a good work? And what is this good work that they began? What does it mean to partake in grace? How does one yearn with the affection of Christ Jesus? What is yearn? Maybe that's a good word to look up too. And even verses 9 through 11, like I didn't even ask the question. I just said we really need to work out what verses 9 through 11 are. So that's a really quick example of just going through a passage, identifying certain things so that we can move to our next phase of understanding. Maybe you saw some other things. Comment what you saw below. Let me know. I want to see what that is. As always, thank you for watching. We will have more videos going more in detail. Take some time, work through this text on your own. It is going to be so valuable that you do so. We'll see you again real soon.